Okay. That was lucky loud. Okay. Do you want to start with the first question? Oh, how about we like rate the movie?
Yeah. So our thing is The Exploding Girl, 2010 by Bradley Russ Gray. And I rate it probably a 7.
Honestly, that's my rating too. 7.
Yeah, I think I would say 7.
Probably 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was just kind of hard to follow.
It was pretty slow to
Yeah.
me. It was just like,
I kind of thought that Gary, or what was his name? Was it Gary?
Greg.
Greg. Greg and the other guy were the same person for most of it until the end.
Yeah.
But the actual content was good, and it showed how disability can impact your life.
Yeah.
Well, I think.
And her name was Ivy, right?
Yes.
Ivy. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the second question?
Okay.
It was pretty cool how there was no like big plot line. It was just kind of her everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in the end I was saying how like they didn't like make it dramatic or for the drama. It was just like nice and subtle. But the title of the movie was kind of like contradicting.
Misleading.
Yeah,
Yeah.
misleading. Like exploding girl. This girl just lived her life actually.
Yeah.
During spring.
Wait, did we say the like official name? I know the first question is the name, the year, and the producer.
Yeah, I said it.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't hear
Yeah.
that. Okay, keep going.
Right? It's you.
So the central point and goal of the film, I think it was kind of like, I might say this wrong. I think it was mainly just to show her everyday life and how it does impact her everyday life, but not so much that it's a burden to where she doesn't live the way somebody else would live. Like there are choices that have to be altered, but not every single choice she makes, and it doesn't overtake her life.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they had like 2 doctor's appointments in there was important to show that that's like a big part of her, because she had epilepsy. I'm saying this so that we're getting all the information, but um yeah, our movie was about epilepsy, and I think I understand more about epilepsy now, because originally I didn't think that it had that much to do with how she felt tired all the time and limited her amount that she could drink, and what was the other?
Um, she couldn't take a bath.
Yeah,
Remember? Yeah.
she had to she wanted to take a bath, but she was scared that she could drown or something if she had a seizure in the bathroom. And that medication, it was like a lot to keep up with.
Yeah. Any other comments? So we're gonna move on to recap the movie. So I think this is Ivy. Ivy is a college student, and this is her spring break now, and she has a boyfriend named Greg, but they're like what, long distance or something like that?
Well, I think he met they're not at school. They're at school together, but
Yes.
they don't live in the same place. So on
Yes.
spring break they're not together.
Yeah, she went somewhere. Like she went back home almost because
Yeah.
there was her mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then she I guess was like living her life. She like also taught at a studio with
Yeah.
like kids, right? And her mom was a dance teacher.
Yeah.
And
They had a show coming up.
yeah, and she had a call from her best friend at that time. It was like, somebody rented out my place. Can I stay with you? So he did stay with her. And so that kind of unravels everything. Like, I guess she went out to go to parties, but at the parties, she felt like isolated and lonely. Like, she was not having fun. Well, maybe due to the fact that, like, she couldn't do what other people were doing, like drinking, smoking, because she had to, like, regulate that, or it could cause seizures. And then it kind of, she tries to call Greg many times, but Greg is not picking up. And then in the end, Greg breaks up with her, and that kind of makes her like spiral kind of worse and like cause a lot of triggers in her seizures. And then I guess just wrap it up. It was like a little cute love story, simple story, and she goes home with Al.
Al, yeah. Al was there the whole time, and he was like pretty steady for the most part.
Yeah.
And I think it was showing how Greg didn't know how to handle like her epilepsy, and like how
Oh yeah.
it was like, but but Al did, or
Yeah, he was
He
there
did
the whole
more.
time. Yeah,
he
he
didn't
was,
do great, but he was doing
yeah.
better.
It says, does the plot tell a universal truth, an internal truth, or a fantastic version of truth? I think I would say like internal truth about human nature. I was mentioning like her like young adulthood and how she kind of felt like isolated and like identity struggles. So that kind of felt really like internal about her.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like focus on her emotions because there was a, I would say like exploding girl, but like her emotions kind of exploded inside.
Yeah.
And you didn't see it on the outside.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
It's a play on how like she wasn't identified by her disability
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
everybody, but the people that I get the guys mixed up. Al is the one that lived.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Al,
Yeah.
it wasn't her only, I guess, identifier to him, but he
Yeah.
knew how to recognize it in a respectful way and like take care
Yeah.
of her.
And he said they had known each other since 8th grade.
Yeah.
And that was, I think that has a lot to do with it too, that
Yeah.
that he was kind of used to that and like knew how to handle it. Because he was there, like, when she had a seizure on the bed, he was like there and acted. I mean, I guess that like you should. I don't really know how. I don't know how to handle that either. But
Yeah. Well, also like when she had absent seizures, it's kind of happened when he was always there, and I think
Yeah.
he was pretty patient. Like they'll be talking, and like she'll like have an absent seizure, and he would just like I guess wait
Yeah.
for her, but like they don't. Yeah.
Okay, so for the fourth question was the main character's disability and what's their relationship. I feel like we kind of already answered that, but it was Ivy and Al, their relationship where they were longtime friends. She was home from college and he had to stay with her. And their relationship, I said they had like obviously a really good like long-term relationship, and I put down that there was like hints of maybe like possible romance or like stuff because I know there was like Greg and everything, but they like began to form like a very deep kind of connection. Okay.
Okay, sorry, I can go to the next one. I didn't know if he was gonna say anything.
Oh.
It says, what role does the character with a disability play? Hero, villain, sidekick, friend, family member, victim, etc. I was thinking victim probably.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
think it's
yeah.
extremely victimizing, but I think that it was just kind of showing that she was even less than victim, more um, like her experience or like the perspective of her life, and how, because there was no scenes that didn't have her in it, so it was very much like a biography sort of thing. And then some examples. They were talking about having kids or babies, and Al was like, "Do you ever think about that?" And she was like, "Yeah, but it would be harder for me." And he was like, "Oh." And I think that kind of shifted his perspective because that's like something he doesn't, even as a guy, you don't really think about it as much. And her being a girl who takes medication for her seizures also adds another layer to that. And I don't think that was something that he thought about that much. And that was kind of something that was an example. And then there was a few that she didn't go to a party or something because one of them, her stomach was cramping,
Oh,
or
yeah.
she was really tired, or she was just like not feeling it, which I think everybody feels like that sometimes, but I think hers is a genuine, like, I cannot do anything right now. I need to rest.
Yeah.
And then it was difficult for her to find a relationship that could care for her and like make space for her to have her time for her seizures. And then the bathing thing that she
Yeah.
would kind of have to not necessarily be supervised, but have her mom there so in case that she did for having a seizure in the bathtub, she wouldn't go.
I feel like she's a victim of Greg because Greg treated her so badly.
Yeah.
Or
Well, he was literally telling her about another girl
yeah,
when he was still dating her.
that's true.
And then he was like, "So I think we need to break up because I like this girl."
Yeah, and like from the get go, he was like Rebecca was in the car, or maybe I do think that was a lie. I think it was a lie. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder if she was part of the reason they got her back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that was something else that happened, was that Greg got in a car wreck and called her, but he never answered her phone, her call.
never.
And
Yeah, that probably took like a lot of stress and emotional stress on her. So Like,
And I think he was the cause of a lot of her seizures, was the stress
Oh,
that it was
yeah.
causing. Because of the doctor, the doctor asked, like, have you been under stress a lot? She goes, yeah, midterms. But you could kind of see that she was
yeah.
kind of masking that, and it was definitely Greg,
Yeah.
like all of it.
Yeah.
I think it was kind
Yeah.
of interesting how he was like so quick to be like, but I'm gonna be there for her when she's going through this medical thing. And then he wasn't at all there for
Yeah.
Ivy.
Yeah.
And that
Oh
was
yeah. Oh my gosh. That hit me like a revelation, man.
yeah.
Oh wow. That's so true. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Freaked out because I was like, oh wow.
That was funny. Okay. That's the part.
Just right here.
Okay. So provide a critical analysis of the underlying theory of this movie. I was kind of looking at them a minute ago, and I don't really think. I don't know. I don't necessarily think it falls into the medical model of disability, but at the same time, I see the pity from the other characters in the movie for Ivy.
Yeah.
That makes me think of that.
Her mom's stance on it was weird.
Yeah, it was.
Was it?
And
Yeah.
how like she still had to be reliant on her mom.
Mhm.
And like it being spring break, I wonder if we were witnessing like something different because she's in her hometown, so maybe her disability was worse when she was a child. And so the people there identify her as like sicker than she actually is, or something like that.
Mhm.
Which also I guess falls into a societal model.
Maybe yes. Remember when like she went to the doctor and they were like, oh, she said it was like her last seizure was in November or something like that. And then the doctor goes, oh, it's not in here. And then apparently the school didn't send the paperwork. So maybe that's like an issue.
Yeah.
I perceive some of that as almost it's the social model, right? That's like saying that society is like the issue, it's not like the disability.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I perceived some of those things as like social model of like I feel like a lot of the things were kind of pinned against her
Mhm.
to thrive in like the setting that she was at. And even like what we were talking about with like Greg and like her stress, like a lot of like uh seizure causing like stress. And I feel like a lot of that, I don't know if perfectly fits into social, but I kind of see that of like society was a big effect on her.
Yeah. You think there were any other models? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't. Yeah.
There
Because
was
it was a short movie and it only
Yeah.
really
it
depicted.
definitely was more society, I think, and how that was like impacting her
Yeah.
more than anything. I think the identity one also could apply a little bit in how that maybe she had made that her identity because she like dwelled on it so much a little bit. But I don't know. It wasn't identity in the sense like, yeah, I have a disability and deal with it. It was more like this is all I can think about sometimes. I think is what
Mhm.
but I don't really think that's the same.
Any other comments? Alright, so the next one was explaining the cultural manifestations of the disability and in what way does this character disable. So I think the first one, I would say, I think Bath kind of struck me, right?
Yeah.
And like maybe that culture, like she called her mom, and then her mom was like, "Oh, I'm just really busy, like not tonight." And like she already like broke up with Greg at that point, and you know she just wants some like relaxation. And she already had the tub filling up, and she had to drain it, which is kind of really sad.
And
So
I think
maybe
it was kind of like representing her draining of like how much of it she
yeah.
like draining her energy, draining her patience.
Yeah, so maybe this like talked about her like her family, her mom relationship, because I'm assuming like she doesn't obviously she goes to college, so she may like feel bad for like burdening other people to like watch over or something like that. And then I guess my second example would be like parties and like social interaction, her friends, her peers. Like she went to the party. Do you guys remember when like this girl she did like this? But
Yeah.
We were talking about
I was like,
It was so, I don't think it was at
Yeah,
her. It was
I
just so 2010.
yeah.
It was very 2010.
But like she was like
I mean, this movie was made in 2009, right?
No, it was 2010. I was saying like that was very of that era.
Oh,
Literally,
yeah.
I'm so quirky.
Yeah.
But like she kept side eyeing her too. So like that kind of manifested in her. Do you guys see it? She was like, and then
Yeah, no, she was
like-
just like it was like this scene, and she was. You can be the girl. This is Ivy, and then this is the girl looking at Sophia. Pretend. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't know what the context of that was.
yeah, I didn't know if that was like talking about her, like Ivy
I don't know if
necessarily,
I don't know what that was.
but if it was somebody
Might
else.
have just been like a random extra in the movie deciding to
But like, why would
The
they add
extra.
that?
choice.
But why would they add that in though? You know what I mean?
It's a choice.
But like, I swear I saw her side eye.
Yeah. She was.
Yeah,
Because Ivy was very out of it in that. She was like,
yeah.
But
just there.
And then yeah, and I think like so they were smoking. so, and he offered a cigarette to her and then she was like,
I don't
"Oh
think it
no."
was a cigarette.
Okay, I'm saying it was I guess weed. But
Don't cancel us.
but basically he like offered it to her but she was like, "Oh no, like I can't do that because of her disability," or like she's scared of it being triggered. So that kind of like not saying like necessarily ruin her fun, but
It was
her
something to consider.
interaction with her
Yes.
parents. Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know if I was able to say that, but yeah.
I was waiting for you to say a different word, and I was like,
I was just gonna say cigarette. Just
yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I think that this social setting, like part of it in the party,
yeah. So
that was the first thing I thought of when
Yeah.
it was like constant no's to the people around her and like
yeah.
the way she could find a community of people her age.
Yeah.
And when she did find one, he broke it off. It was like,
Yeah,
or he found someone that was better or easier to
Yeah.
deal with.
And I think this really questions asking about like how she's like disabled, but I feel like we're looking at it her like internally.
yeah.
Okay. For the next question is describe the film's use of stereotypes. So I didn't think that there was any like really straightforward stereotypes that were like fit. Like I didn't think any of the characters specifically fit into a box, but I had to show two examples and so for object of pity, I argued that that stereotype wasn't fit for my example. And I think that like epilepsy was shown in her like as a part of her, not necessarily like her. And I think a lot of times like in movies, like the person with a disability is just like portrayed as like only that disability. Like if you see someone in a movie with like Down syndrome, a lot of times it's just like all about like other people caring for them for like, having Down syndrome, or like if someone with autism, like the movie's all about like their like quirks and stuff. So I feel like it wasn't necessarily like that. Like I don't think that it was trying to like pity her and like be like over dramatic about her epilepsy. I think it was just a part of her in the movie. And then the second example would be I had innocence because that was like one of the examples that it gave for stereotype. And I said that I think that you could argue that Ivy fit this type of like innocence because she was kind of more like introverted and like gentle. And sorry, I like wrote this down while watching the show or movie.
You're good.
Introverted and like gentle, and I said that like maybe that could fit the stereotype of like a fragile like person with a disability. But I thought that that could be kind of argued either way of whether she fit the stereotype of like innocence or not.
Yeah. I think the only one that might is the pity one, probably. Because of how not I think she had pity on herself more than anything. But
I think like even going back to the Ivy thing, I think her disability almost forced her into innocence, and that's what the people around her saw.
yeah.
Like when she
Yeah.
Even the way she talked
yeah,
was like kind of childish.
Oh yeah.
like with so many simple things that like people do in a social setting, she would have to say no. And like I guess if you're in a setting and somebody does that, the automatic assumption is innocence. So I think that's just what that disability put upon her. Um, and I get the pity thing too, but I don't think there was pity at all from
Anybody?
Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there was from Al, but in a sense that he wanted to help.
Yeah.
And I think Greg was like, I don't really care about you. You're not my burden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what we talked about on Tuesday was in our discussion, we were talking about when it's okay to ask if you can help, on how to ask if you can help somebody. And I think he did a good job of that. I think he did a good job because but of course that came with experience because he had known her since 8th grade. So
Yeah. I feel like the stereotypes that I didn't see, which was kind of good, because I feel like everybody, like in TV shows or reality shows, they really exaggerate like the muscle seizures where they like their jerking movements.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they didn't. No, I'm not saying I'm glad they didn't put it in, but like they didn't exaggerate it, and also they kind of filmed it in a way it was respectful.
Yes.
yeah, you
So-
can barely see her.
It was really respective, and I thought that really portrayed like how it kind of
It
should be.
showed even more that he was calm than
Yeah,
her.
that's
Yeah.
like how like yeah. So I'm like, that's like a good not a way to stereotype it, and like it also like showed like different types of seizures, like because like the absent seizures, I feel like that one's like when you think of seizures, you think of the jerking one, but absent seizures can happen too.
I think even like you were saying he was covering her more, maybe that was probably a symbolic thing from the directing
Yes.
side of
Oh, yeah.
it. While also being sensitive to people who either haven't ever been around that and probably would be a little threatened by it, or people who have epilepsy and probably don't want to see that. Yeah, I thought the way the movie was made was respectful and there weren't many stereotypes about the disability specifically.
Yeah. Pretty good job. So our next question is provide your interpretation of how well people with disabilities are portrayed in the film relative to what is learned in class. Oh, did we kind of touch on this?
I feel like we did that.
Yeah, we kind of
Yeah.
talked like they were like what you would guys would say like minimal stereotypes, but they were there.
Yeah.
But they did also really good job of not stereotyping. But yeah, we talked. Oh, I know what
This
is
one's what positive aspects do the film do portraying people with disabilities? I think we answered that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it like normalized it a little, and I think that's like necessary to have more films like that.
Yeah.
That kind of normalize like disabilities and don't have to again make it like the whole like personality of the person.
And yeah, it also kind of related to us just because we're also college students and like we like
Yeah.
our peers or like whoever we're next to, they may be struggling with something. So I think that kind of related to us on a level. Like at spring break, everybody goes to like so many places, but like she didn't like get to fulfill like what she would want to do in spring break, which is like
But I think Al still did his best to like
Yeah.
take her to the pigeon thing and picnic and
oh yeah, that was
wherever
cute.
else they went.
A rooftop.
That was the pigeon thing.
Oh yeah. What, if anything, would you guys do differently if you made the film? Start first.
I think I would clear up some of the things like the storyline at the beginning because it was kind of just like we jumped into the middle of her life and like kind of I was kind of confused the whole time until the very end.
Yeah.
Like I think that maybe Greg's voice and Al's voice could be different. And I think, but I like the filming style of it. It was very like just storytelling.
Yeah.
And I liked how like you literally just saw everything. I liked that it started with in the car with the green trees going by, and then ended that way too. I thought that was cool. I don't know. I liked a lot of it. I just think that some of the actual plot of it was a little weird. I also didn't like Al's hair. But
It also bothered me a lot.
it's just like
It was too like fluffy.
it was kind of giving that superhero on Incredibles, the redheaded one.
I liked how simple it was. Like there wasn't a huge,
It wasn't very Hollywood.
yeah,
It's an
And
indie
it-
film.
didn't
Yes,
Yeah.
sure.
dramatize the disability at all. It was
Mhm.
very real, and it was. I mean, we're seeing what a week out of her life, so we might not see the worst episode she's ever had.
Yeah, it was very like a day in life, except
Yeah.
it was like a week. But
Yeah, I like that. But I think like adding in maybe a flashback or something.
That's what I was gonna say.
or even like
Of like,
something that her mom could say to give context.
Yeah, or
Because it
like,
couldn't have to actually be a flashback. It could just be like something that her mom said, like more intentional with the lines, kind of like the baby thing. Because I think that was intentional to bring in
yes,
that
yeah,
she thought about it differently than he did,
Mhm.
and I feel like there's could have been something that her mom said. Like that.
Yeah, especially when they saw the cousin, the newborn cousin.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
prompted, yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was really cute. Yeah.
I was gonna say just anything of, I mean, obviously to like an extent and like not overdo it, but kind of what you said with like flashbacks or like learning more about like her childhood or like kind of obstacles that she's like had to face to get to that point.
I kind of almost say that. I kind of wanted her to have a more voice in the film, like her openly talk about it, or kind of want to see like more into the relationship with her and her mom, going back to like the childhood and everything, and maybe talking about it with Al. Like I feel like I don't know. Like I would like to hear like because I feel like he would have questions like anyone else would.
yeah,
So I wish like they had more interaction about like her disability because I think in the beginning of the film I was like, okay. And again the title, we should change the title because
Yeah.
that it was like so
Yeah.
contradictory. And I was like kind of reading the reviews on like Rotten Tomatoes and everyone's like, why is it exploding her?
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, that's a great question. So
Okay, yay.
wow, you think I mean, pretty good discussion, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.